Good evening. My name is Deepak Biskitwala, and I am your host and the facilitator for this webinar today. I have a Brooks Kader. He is also helping me as a facilitator for this session. And we're going to have a wonderful speaker today. The speaker is going to talk about everyone communicate, few connects, and communicating and leading for the results. So before I introduce speaker, I'll just talk about the logistic. So if you have any question, you can type your question in the question box on your right side panel. And please keep your phone on the mute. And we will have 15 minutes at the end of the session to answer any of the questions you have. So, by saying that, let me introduce our speaker. Her name is Kemi Sorinmade. She is a leadership trainer, speaker, and coach, as well as certified by John Maxwell Leadership University. She has over 20 years of combined experience as an engineer, entrepreneur, and project manager. She brings a wealth of knowledge and a unique perspective of her audiences. She is also the owner of the Growth Studio, a leadership development firm that equips science, quality, and engineering professionals, as well as organizations, with the strategy to solve challenging problems, improve performance, and increase their effectiveness. Kemi holds a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering and a master's degree in engineering management from Northeastern University, Boston. She has conducted and facilitated a number of her signature leadership talks and workshops at local ASQ sections. So I would like to welcome Kemi, and today's our topic is everyone communicate, few connect, communicating and leading for results. So Kemi, please welcome Kemi, and Kemi, please start your session.
Okay, great. Thank you, Deepak, for that introduction. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining in and having me today on this training. And I hope you're all doing well. And I want to say a big thank you to the ASQ Human Development and Leadership team for the opportunity to present this topic. So we'll be talking about everyone communicates, few connect. Welcome, everyone, and I hope you had a great day today. So I want to start with this short story. My dad owns a publishing company in Nigeria. I grew up in Nigeria. As you can see by the name, I'm originally from Nigeria, West Africa. And he lost his wife a couple of years ago, my stepmother. And one day we were talking on the phone, and he wanted to know what I thought about him bringing on a new partner. Remember, I said he owns a business. He owns a publishing company. And as soon as he said that, the first thing that came to my mind was that he wanted me to give him advice on bringing on a business partner, because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business owner, and all I'm thinking about all day is actually my business. So I thought that was what he was talking about. And then I started giving him advice on how to bring on somebody who he can trust, somebody who has integrity, somebody that will not run away with his money. So I just kept going on, and he said, okay. And by the end of that conversation, and when we got off the phone, I realized that he was probably talking about him bringing on a new wife. Remember, he lost his wife a couple of years ago. And that day I realized that I wasn't playing my role as a daughter. There was a communication breakdown. I had not connected with him, and I was talking about something else, and he thought I was talking about something else. And I did not play my role as a daughter that day. And I did not provide him with the information, the right information that he needed. So everyone is communicating, everyone is talking, but only few are connecting. And that's why we usually have a communication breakdown. That is why we have a communication gap when it comes to our organizations today. You still find a lot of communication problems between different departments. like between marketing, between sales, between marketing and engineering, you have that communication breakdown, and that's because we have not connected. So today I'm going to help you and talk about ways we can close that gap. And I hope you'll be able to get a lot out of it this evening. So how do you communicate and how do you lead? Think about two people with the same talent, with the same background and qualification, or with the same information. When one speaks, no one seems to listen. And when another one speaks, everyone seems to buy in. Or you have two people in the same career. One seems to move forward and the other seems stuck. Or you have a manager with members that are engaged and are productive, while the other manager is struggling to get everyone to do their work. Can any of you guys identify with this? And have you experienced similar situations? And I'm not sure if there's a hand raising button on your screen, so if you can raise your hand so that I can know if you guys are hearing and if you can identify with what I'm saying. So if you've experienced a situation where you have one person saying one thing, no one listens, and then somebody else says the same thing, and people say, oh wow, that's a great idea. So if you experience such situations, the person who gets buy-in, the person who is listened to is probably has probably been able to connect with that audience. So you've sat in meetings, or you've sat in a meeting or in a training program, and somebody asks you a question and you give an answer or you give your own idea, and somebody else gives the same idea, and people buy into that person's idea. So it's likely because you have not connected with that audience, or you don't have any influence with that audience. So communication that is authentic, that is natural, comes from connecting with the people you're trying to communicate with, comes from being a person of influence as it relates to the people you're communicating with. So your communication becomes effective, it becomes easy, and it works when you have a connection with your audience. So when you look at this audience and this picture, the question I have for you is, what does your audience look like? Does your audience look like this audience? An audience that's disengaged, an audience that's not listening, an audience that's bored. And when I say your audience, it could be an audience that you're presenting to, or it could be your team members, it could be your followers, it could be the people you're trying to work with, maybe a client, or maybe somebody you're working with on a project. So what is your audience like, and what is their response to what you're trying to say? Are they disengaged? Are they not listening? Or are you having a difficult time getting your point across? So before we go on, I want to make it a little bit interactive. I want to ask you all why communication is important to you. Why do you need to communicate, and why do you need to improve your communication skills? What will be the benefit of you taking this class today? What will be the benefit of you listening into this webinar? And the reason I ask is this. Usually there's a lot of hype around the word communication, and you probably hopped on this webinar because you saw that word. And usually we jump on things, we try to go for classes, and we don't even know why we're taking the class. So when you establish why you're doing something, it's a way for you to really know, okay, I know why I want to do this. There's a reason behind I'm doing what I'm doing, and then it's going to inspire you to take the right action to get the results you're looking for. So if you can have a few people, I just want to get an idea of why you want to improve your communication skills. And that way we can also see if we can apply some of the strategies we talk about as we go along. And I'll keep talking, so you can just pop in the messages, and I hope I can see them. So you have to have a reason, you have to have why you want to improve. And when you have a why, you're going to find a way. And then the next thing I would like you to do, again, to keep this engaging, is to get a piece of paper and a pen and write down who your audience is. And again, when I say your audience, I'm talking about your team. It could be your boss, it could be your coworkers, it could be people you network with, or even your spouse. It could be that difficult employee, that person you've been trying to communicate with and you're not getting through. So write down those names and leave some spaces in between each name, because as we go along, I want you to be of ideas and real action items that you can put down, so that by the time you get back to work, you can begin to implement those ideas as you get those ideas from the strategies we're going to talk about. So is that cool? So let's do that. And again, we can do that while I continue on with the presentation. So it takes the power of connection to move your communication to a new level, to a level that yields results. So it's not about techniques. It's not about your tone of voice. It's not about this is what you say when somebody says this to you. I know you guys have probably attended different classes where they teach you all these techniques. They teach you how to inflect your voice. They teach you how to reply back. They teach you how to mirror the person you're talking to. And those are all important. But you're not going to get effective communication until you connect with the people you're trying to communicate with. So I want to show you how to grow into a leader that is able to connect. And when you begin to connect, all these techniques will come naturally. They will work. But if you've not connected with your audience, everything you're going to be trying to do to communicate with others will be mechanical at best. So the goal today is to help you grow into that leader that can truly communicate with others through influence. And when we're communicating with other people, it's a way of saying we're trying to sell something. So if you talk to people, it's either you're asking them for help, or you're asking them to do something for you, or you're trying to pass on a message or an idea. So you're trying to influence others one way or the other. But influencing others is at its lowest when it's based on communication only. And then it becomes more effective. Your communication becomes more effective and yields results when you truly connect with your audience. So think about it. Usually there's a new initiative coming out, or a new procedure or a new plan in your department. And the first thing the management does is they communicate it. That usually is not effective because management has not truly connected with the team. So connection is very important. When you don't connect first, it leads to resistance, mistrust, and strained relationships. So it's really about who you are. It's really about you being a leader. It's really about you being a connector. And that is when you begin to communicate in a way that is very effective. And that's what I want to show you today. So you might be a quality manager. You're having a hard time getting buy-in from above and below. And again, I would like to see those responses. I'm not sure if I can see them. Or you're a quality associate. You have a project you're working on, and you're having a hard time asking others for help. You know that your project will not be successful unless you ask others for help. But other people are busy. People are busy. They're doing their own thing. You're having a hard time asking for help. Or you're a professional or individual contributor, and you're trying to succeed as a team member. You want to be a good team player, or you want to get that promotion, or you want to get that idea across to your boss, but you're having a hard time doing that. Or you may be a team leader or manager, and you're trying to motivate others to complete their tasks. It does take the power of connection. Just like you see that chain, the one single link of that chain has no benefit, but until it connects with other links, that's when that chain becomes useful, and that's the power of connection. So that's what we want to go into today. So the goal of the training is to help you learn to grow into a leader that can connect with others so that you can communicate in a way that yields results. And also we want us to be able to avoid the communication breakdowns that occur. Like I said earlier, the communication gap that exists between departments in organizations today, and want to break down those walls. And I believe the strategies we talk about today will help you. And again, I'm not going to be talking about techniques or the fact that you need to be eloquent, or the fact that you have to use the right words, and these are all important. Body language, all that, they're very important. But today we want to talk about being a leader, a better connector, so that when you communicate, people will listen and act. When you ask for help, people are ready. And when you have a team, your team is motivated, they're inspired, and they're engaged, and you increase all-round productivity. And whether you're an introvert, you're shy, or you have an accent, like I do, I'm guilty on all three counts, you can still get your message across. As technical professionals, usually technical professionals, engineers, scientists, we're usually introverts. And sometimes we think because we're introverts, we can't truly communicate. And that is not true. And when you learn to be a better leader, you'll be able to do the things necessary to help get your message across. So I want to illustrate what I'm talking about with this picture right here. So we have a cargo cart, and when you're talking to your next audience or you're trying to have a conversation with somebody, just think about this illustration. So you have that cargo cart all by itself with a log of wood. So think of that as your audience. So your audience being your customers, your friends, your co-workers, your boss, and so on. And that cargo cart cannot get to its destination without being connected to that locomotive. So you can't get anything out of your audience until you connect with them. And you can't get anything across to them until you connect with them. Another important thing is that the locomotive has to go on the track where the cargo cart is in order for it to take it to its destination. So as the leader, as a communicator, it's your responsibility to form that connection. So if people aren't listening to you, if people aren't buying into your message, if people are bored, it's because you haven't connected, and you have to take the responsibility. You have to take the blame. It's not really about them. It's really your fault. You have to take the responsibility. So we want to learn how that connection works today. So benefits and results of connecting. So when you've connected and you're now taking your communication to a new level, here are some of the benefits, and I hope these are some of the things you're probably looking for. These are probably some of your goals. You want to be able to lead effective meetings and presentations. You want to be able to manage and complete your projects successfully, because now you're able to truly ask for help and people are ready to help you. Inspiring your team, inspiring others to take action, to do the right thing, inspiring change. Again, that new initiative, you want to be able to inspire change. You want to be able to get your ideas across and get buy-in from others, and so many other benefits. So again, this has to do with what your goal really is, and I'm not sure what your goals are, but I hope that what we talk about today will really help you. So a little bit more about me. Deepak already gave you an introduction. So again, I'm a leadership development trainer and coach certified by the John Maxwell leadership team, and that's me with John Maxwell, my mentor. And I own the Growth Studio, helping organizations, tech, science, and engineering organizations improve their employee engagement, and also specifically work with the STEM professionals to help them improve personal performance, productivity, and I help them work well with others so that they can achieve their goals and reach their full potential. And I, like Deepak said, I do have experience, my engineering experience. I'm a former engineer, and I also have I've held different roles as a project engineer, project manager, quality manager, but I became a student of leadership development. I became a student of personal development while I was working, and I decided to go back and pursue my true passion to teach others to become the best they can be. And that is why I'm here today. And I do that through training, speaking, and coaching. So here are some of the stuff I've done over the years. So this is what I enjoy doing in giving back to the engineering, science, and tech industry. So let's get right into it. How will your communication yield results? So I want to share with you 6 strategies that you can begin to implement to take your communication to a new level and to help you become a better leader. And I know that all these techniques and strategies might seem simple to you. You're probably all technical professionals on the line, and you may think these are too simplistic. But usually it is the simple things that we overlook that keep us from getting the real results. So take off your tech hats for a few minutes, and let's learn what it's going to take your communication to a new level. Let's learn what it's going to take for you to lead that next meeting and make it a more effective meeting. Or let's learn what it's going to take to help you communicate with that difficult employee. I want you to think about all the bosses you've had. Which ones were your favorite? Or the teachers you've had. Which ones inspired you to take action? Which of the bosses were you willing to work for and do anything for? And what was the common thread? And I bet all of them connected with you somehow. And I bet it wasn't because they were smart or they had all the technical knowledge. So people interact with, they respond well to others, not according to their words, but based on the connection that they experience with them. According to John Maxwell, talk is easy. Everyone does it. But the question is, how can you make your words count? So here are the 6 strategies. You have to develop relationships. You have to maintain integrity and character. You have to make your communication about others. You have to find common ground, go to where they are, and keep it simple. So we'll jump right into it. Number one, relationships. And I hope you're writing these down. Relationships. What is your relationship like with your audience, with the people you're trying to communicate with? And in a past study, a number of executives were asked what attributed to their success. What was the most significant thing that attributed to their success? 87% of them said people knowledge or relationships, and only 13% said product and technical knowledge or functional knowledge. So it is all about relationships. So people will do business with whom they know, they like, and they trust. That's a popular saying in the business world. And we can bring it into our workplace. People will work with, people will listen to, people will enjoy being with whom they know, they like, and they trust. So what is your relationship factor with your audience, with the people you're trying to talk to? How are you developing your relationships? I was thinking the other day, a mid-sized corporation asked me a couple of years ago to send them a proposal to do strategic planning for them. And I was just thinking, I was just a year into my business, and I was just thinking, why will this organization call me? I don't feel qualified. There are other qualified strategic planners out there, people with more experience out there. And I was just thinking, why will they call me? And I came to realize that it was because they knew who I was. I had a relationship with the manager asking for the proposal. I was in the same networking group with that manager. So it was based on relationship, and I was kind of the first person she thought when it came to looking for a strategic planner. So relationships are very important. What is your relationship like with your audience? What is the know-like factor with your team? How well do you know your team? How well does your team know you? How well do you know the technicians or the production workers on the floor? If you don't have a relationship with the people that you're trying to communicate with, it's going to be hard to communicate with them. So even though people have been assigned to help you, so let's say you have your subordinates, or you have a member of the marketing department, or a member of the accounting department, and their job is actually to help you. The job of that accounting professional is to help you with your invoices. But the fact that you don't really have a relationship with them will make your communication more difficult. So those who have relationships with others have a better chance at fostering better communications. So you have to think about how can you continue to build relationships with people. If you're a lady and I just keep getting shut down. I've met a lot of women engineers and tech professionals who have told me that I just keep getting shut down. And the question I have is, what is your relationship with your boss or with the people on your team? It depends on the relationship. So how do you build the relationships? You have to, different ideas that I want to offer to you. Do you know their names? Do you know the names of people? How well are you doing with the names of people? Are you showing up? Showing up is part of building relationships, or are you just sitting behind your desk? Are you skipping all those events and people are not seeing you? So the less people see of you, the less relationships you're able to build. Just think about, maybe you're part of a project and they have weekly meetings on that project, and you haven't attended that meeting for the past 3 weeks. And then you come to the meeting the next week and you want to offer your own idea, or you want to tell them to do something. What they will all be thinking is, where have you been for the past 3 weeks? So you have to keep showing up in order to build those relationships. You have to keep going to those events, maybe have lunch, maybe just show up and make sure that people see you. Another idea is to add value onto others. What are you offering onto others? What kind of value are you adding onto others? Are you being likable? Again, people do business with whom they know, like, and trust. So are you an annoyance? Do you have a bad attitude? So what's your likability factor? How well do people like you? Are you showing interest in other people? That's another way to build relationships. So you know what people like, you know what people don't like. And that's how to build relationships. You know what your boss likes, and you can add value somehow, some way. So that's kind of building that relationship, and they begin to get to know you. And then when you offer that idea, people begin to listen, because you've kind of raised that likability factor. And do you have an open door policy? What's your open door policy like? Again, as executives, and I don't know if there are any executives on here, and you just sit in your corner office all the time, and you're not going out to meet the people, and they're not really getting to know you, you're not connecting with them, that's going to kind of make that communication very strained and very difficult. So having an open door policy also helps. So think about your work environment right now. What are the relationships like? Is there gossiping? Is there backbiting? Do people hate each other? Or are you building those relationships? Because where there are good relationships, there's less conflict, people get more done, and the lines of communication open up really wide. So increase your social quotient. Again, if you're an introvert, just try and find ways you can build those relationships better. And it's not about being eloquent, it's not about having too much to say. And like I said, I'm an introvert myself, but I kind of find ways to build those relationships so that when it's time to communicate, it becomes easier, and I get results from the communication. So better relationships build better communication. Moving right along, number 2 is to build your integrity and character. So if you did a Google search on me, maybe right before you came on the webinar, or maybe when you got the announcement, and you saw some questionable things about me, you probably would not have come on the webinar, and you probably would not want to hear what I have to say. So integrity is very important. When you have good character, when you have integrity, it means that you can be trusted. Remember the know, like, trust factor. So that trust comes from integrity. So what is your character like? Do you have a character flaw or attitude that is in the way of your communication or message? No matter what you say, your credibility and character is what people see. So you have to maintain your character, and that character forges that connection with people, and that connection builds trust. And then you're able to raise your influence, and then people will begin to listen to you. So your character builds that connection. So make sure you build that character factor. And you all know what integrity is. You know what character is. We're not going to go deep into that. So it's all about telling the truth. It's all about being honest. It's all about being open. People will do what they see. So your communication goes beyond words. And you have to model what you want to see in others. You have to model what you're saying. So if you've been trying to communicate, again, maybe with your team members or with a colleague for a while, and you find that there's resistance, take a step back and see if you've been modeling your message. And I love this quote right here on the screen. It says, your actions speak so loudly, I can't hear your words. So no matter what you say, if your actions don't match what you're saying, people are not going to listen to you. And I think about my children a lot of times, and I always have to make sure that I'm not doing what I tell them not to do. It is very important. And so the do as I say generation is far gone. We're now in a do as I do generation. So you have to make sure that your actions match your words. Trust is the currency for leaders and communicators. Let's talk about the elections that are going on right now. We have a candidate who is very experienced, who has been experienced, who is qualified. But now the issue of trust is kind of blocking that. It's kind of marring that experience, and people are having a hard time listening to what that candidate is trying to say. So trust is very important. With trust and credibility, leaders will continue to connect with people. But when you lose trust, when you lose credibility, leaders begin to disconnect. And when you disconnect, whatever you say will not be heard by people. Whatever you're trying to do will not be received by people. You cannot lead if you break that trust. And then part of connecting with others and being a person of integrity is also being vulnerable and being open, being true to yourself. So it's not about trying to be perfect. It's not about being a know-it-all. And again, as engineers, as scientists, as tech professionals, we kind of show ourselves as know-it-alls. And usually this kind of forms a disconnection with the people we're trying to talk to. So one of the ways I gained an audience with the technicians I supervised in one of my previous jobs is that I was open to the fact that I did not know it all. I always asked them for help. Even though I was the engineer and they were the technicians, I always asked them to explain so many things to me. And because truthfully, I didn't know it all. I wasn't really very good technically, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. That's why I'm no longer an engineer. So I always asked them for help. And that kind of opened the door. That kind of built a connection that made it easy for them to listen to me. when it was time for me to ask them to do things. So even though they were older, even though they had been there longer than I was, even though I looked different from them, as a female supervising older men, they still listened. They still bought into what I always told them. And then when it was time for me to champion a new initiative, actually 2 initiatives, it was easy for me to do. People bought in, people got on board because that trust had been built, that connection had been made. So it is very important to maintain your integrity. So here's how you do that. How do you build your credibility? This is the checklist. You have to keep checking yourself. Again, you're trying to communicate, you're trying to connect, and if all these are missing, then it's going to be hard. So have you connected with yourself? And I'm going to breeze through these. Are you accountable, or are you just doing the things you like? Have you made your right wrongs? So you've made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. But have you admitted your wrongs? Again, that kind of breaks trust if you can admit that you've done wrong. Are your words matching what you say? Do you tell the truth? Do you deliver results? So what is your track record? As far as making promises, have you been keeping your promises? So if you've stopped keeping promises and you tell people the next thing or a new idea or something new, they're not going to listen. They're not going to even take action. And again, as that female or as that person whose ideas are not being listened to, what is your track record? What kind of results have you been delivering? That's what's going to help you form that connect your influence with others. So maintain integrity. It is very important. You have to earn that credibility first before you communicate. As time goes by, the way you live will outweigh the words you speak. So integrity is very important. The next thing, number 3, is to make it about them. And I hope this is helping so far. And I hope you're beginning to get some ideas with the names you've written down, your audience, like what can you do to implement some of these strategies, some of these ideas. What are the practical things you can do? Number 3, make it about them. Don't let what you want to say be more important than your audience. Many people don't listen because what we're communicating has nothing to do with them or does not benefit them. Remember that picture in the first slide. The presenter in that slide was actually maybe talking about something that had nothing to do with the audience, and that's why they were bored. How many of you have been to meetings where what they were saying in that meeting had nothing to do with you? That's a breakdown in connection. So you have to make it about them. You have that new initiative, and the first thing that leaders do is they communicate the initiative. And there's nothing in that initiative that has anything to do with the people that are going to be implementing the initiative. Or we hear a lot about change management. How does that change benefit everyone? How does that change affect everyone? What is in it for them? And as a result, when people are hearing about change and it has nothing to do with them, they don't hear their name in that change, they don't hear what is important to them in that change, it's going to be hard for them to take action and even accept the change and do what it takes to champion that change. Do people hear their names, so to speak, in that conversation you're having? So in that picture with that bored audience, I'm sure if one of them heard their name, they would probably immediately wake up. So it's the same thing with your audience. What is important to them? So an example, you have a wonderful idea. What is in it for your manager? What is in it for your team? How does it affect profits? How does it affect the bottom line? So you have to think in terms of that. So you have to communicate in terms of what matters to others, especially if you want to inspire change. So how do you do that? Connect with yourself first. So now that you're going to be making things about others, you have to have that self-confidence. You have to have that self-esteem and be able to say, okay, this is not about me now. I'm okay with myself. I'm confident in myself, but I want to make things about others now. So you have to do that. You have to determine what matters to them. And how does that happen? It's from building those relationships like we talked about earlier. You have to have a listening ear. People will listen to those who listen to them. So if you're not listening to people, people will not listen to you. And when you stop listening to others, people will stop talking to you. Again, that communication wall comes up. And then you have to raise your relational factor. What do you know about your audience? That is very important. Again, back to the relationships. And then you have to be able to value others. Do you care about others? Do you care about your audience? If you don't care about your audience, you're going to keep telling them what's not important to them, and then as you speak to them, as you communicate with them, as you lead them, they're not going to be inspired, they're not going to be motivated. A quick story that I read in a blog post. There were two children sitting at the breakfast table and they were eating pancakes. And the younger child, we'll call his name Johnny, was really getting on the nerves of the older child. And the parent at the table was wondering how could he get Johnny to stop bothering his bigger sister. And if it was me, I would have yelled, "Johnny, stop bothering your sister." But what he did was say, "Johnny, your pancakes are getting cold." And that stopped the disturbance immediately. The father knew something about Johnny. Johnny liked his pancakes hot. So once he said, "Your pancakes are getting cold," because he was spending time disturbing his sister, he stopped immediately. So if you're trying to build a case for your competence, if you're trying to build a case for what you know, your idea or your viewpoint, and you're not connecting first, people will not listen to you. So you have to make it about others, and that's how your communication will go across. I have to think in terms of what do people identify with. So let's move right along. Number 4 is to find common ground. Everyone is different. Everyone has different agendas. And to truly communicate for results, you have to start with what you have in common with other people. So what do you have in common? Again, people are resisting what you're telling them. People are not listening. In order to be able to communicate effectively, maybe you're trying to communicate with somebody who is different from you, or you're trying to communicate with an executive, for instance, or someone from a different culture, and you think that you can't communicate with that person. What you can do is to find common ground. Someone resisting your words, who's been resisting your words for the longest time. How could you find common ground and build a relationship based on that? And when you do that, it will help you find the right words to say to that person. So you're trying to achieve a common goal. You have a common problem that you're trying to solve. Start the conversation that way. For example, maybe at your company, customer satisfaction is going down, and that's going to affect sales, which in turn probably would affect the raises for next year. So as a manager, you can start the conversation by saying, "We've been having a problem with customer satisfaction, and our sales are going down, and this is going to affect your raise next year. So we need to spend 3 days on doing root cause analysis." Usually people resist that. But once you start with what's going to affect them, what you have in common, the goal that you're trying to reach, it's going to help people to be inspired to take action and do what it takes. It's going to make them listen to what you have to say. So at your job, how can you use these 4 questions? What do you have in common? The past experiences that you've shared. What is the big picture? What's the common problem you're trying to solve? What do you both agree on? If you use these 4 questions, how can you use them the next time you communicate with people? And this is going to help you. So it is difficult to find common ground, though, if the only person you're thinking about is yourself. And again, we're making things about others, so you have to really take the focus off yourself and think about the other person. So do this at your job. Maybe you have a stubborn employee, or you have maybe a millennial on board, and what do you have in common with them, and what can you do to get the right tools or the right words to communicate with them better? Number 5, go where they are. So look at that beach ball. If I asked you what the colors of that beach ball is, all you're going to tell me is the colors you see, and you're not going to tell me the colors on the other side. So all miscommunication is as a result of different perspectives. So we all have different perspectives. We all seeing different things. The person you're trying to communicate with is seeing different things than you are seeing. Just like with my dad, he was thinking marriage and I was thinking business, but we had one word in common: partner. But I thought it was business partner, and he thought it was marriage partner, and therefore that communication broke down. So what is the other person thinking? What is the background of the other person? Where are they coming from? How long have they been at the company? Are they a millennial? What is the educational background? So again, when you think about the other person, if you understand who you're trying to communicate with, it's going to help you frame the right words. It's going to help you do the right thing. It's going to help you communicate better. So that is very important also, thinking about the other person's perspective. So don't forget, people are seeing things differently, and it's your job as the leader, as the communicator, to put that into consideration when you're communicating with others. And then number 6 is to keep it simple and straightforward. The acronym's K.I.S.S. So if you follow the 5 strategies, rule number 5, and the other strategies also, and you understand your audience, you've understood their background and so on, it will help you with this strategy to keep things simple. The quote here says that the measure of a great teacher isn't what he or she says or knows. It's what the student knows. And again, it's now about forgetting about yourself. It's more about your audience. It's really, you know you've done a good job when your students understand what you're talking about, when your audience understands what you're talking about. So as a true communicator, when you make things, true communicators make things that are complicated and they make it simple. So how can you keep it simple? You have to keep it simple. So how many of you remember the vision statements of your organization? Probably not much. And that's because the vision statement, the mission statement is not simple enough. It's not in your language, in the language that you understand. And therefore people don't remember what it is. People are not taking action based on that mission statement. And as engineers, as scientists, we tend to complicate things. And actually, I was a simplifying engineer. And like I mentioned earlier, I championed 2 new initiatives for my business unit. One was a new Lean program, and the other was an ISO 17025 certification for our business unit. And they kind of sort of happened at the same time. And one of the ways that we were able to get buy-in from everyone was to simplify everything. I had gone for the training, and there was just so much covered in the training. And when I got back to work, I removed everything that was not necessary and just did everything to fit our business unit. And that way, everyone was able to implement everything, implement all the requirements. So you need to keep things simple and straightforward and master the art of simplicity. And how do you do that? Talk to people and not above them. So again, you know what your audience is. You know who they are. You know how well educated or how non-well educated they are. And you kind of make that communication, bring it to their level. So no, don't talk above people. Get to the point. That email you're sending, how many pages of email are you sending? How can you get to the point in your email? So the next time you want to send that email, read over it again and remove everything that's not necessary. Because again, maybe you're trying to communicate with your boss and your boss doesn't have that much time. Usually they read the emails that will not waste their time. And then you have to say it over and over and over again. You have to repeat what you're trying to communicate. Sometimes when you're trying to get a message across, and like I said, people have different agendas. People are not obligated to you. So it's a matter of you reminding people. It's a matter of you saying things over and over again so that they can take action. You have to say it clearly. How clear is your communication? You know, when something is clear, you can see through it. When a glass is clear, you can see through it. So clarity is very important. So what are you saying? Are you hiding anything? Are you saying things too late? That's making the communication not clear, and people will not take action. So true leaders truly make their communication clear and open. And part of being clear is also talking about the reasoning behind what you're talking about. Why are you saying what you're doing? Why are you telling people to do what they need to do? Once things are clear, people jump on, get on board, and they do what you want them to do. And then say less. You don't have to say everything. Say less as possible, and that makes communication easy. So I want to kind of share this quote with maybe some of you are leaders here, your managers or your executives. It's a quote by Bill Hybels. It says, "Vision leaks." So your idea, your message kind of falls through the cracks. And again, the people you're talking to, the people you're trying to communicate with, they're not on your level. They have a different perspective. They're busy, and sometimes they forget the vision. They forget your idea. They forget the message, or the message doesn't resonate with them. If people buy into your idea or vision, then they can eventually lose their passion and enthusiasm for it. They can lose sight of the vision altogether. Because of this, leaders, great communicators, must continue to repeat the values and vision so that people will know them and live them. So being simple as a communicator isn't a weakness, but it is actually a strength. So those are the 6 strategies. And I want to just show this to you. How do you know you've connected? So again, you've learned all the strategies, all the things to help you truly connect with others. How do you know you've connected? And here's just some 9 signals that you can look for in people, your team, or in your audience. And when you sense this in people, when people begin to trust you, again, you've been connecting in a way, you've been maintaining your integrity, and now you've built trust with your audience. When people begin to express themselves more readily, because now you've been listening to them, you've been asking questions, you've been forming that relationship. Or when people are beginning to accept you without reservation, that means it's a signal that whatever you say to them will be something that they will run with. It will mean that your communication has come to a level where they will begin to listen to you. So then the techniques don't really matter. So when you value other people and that trust has been established, then you don't even really have to think about how your tone of voice is. They tell you, oh, this is the tone of voice you should use. But now you're a true leader. The right tone of voice comes out. The right body language comes out and manifests itself because you've truly connected with your audience. So it's not really about what you say. It's really about how you make people feel. So those are the signals to look for, and then you're ready to communicate with other people. So to recap, trying to keep to time. So I put everything, this like a gear system. So it shows that everything works together. So to recap, these are the things that you need to begin to implement with those people that you wrote down, the names you wrote down, that difficult employee, that audience, that boss, that overbearing boss. If you begin to work on this, making it about them, building those relationships, finding common ground, going after their own perspective, you begin to open the lines of communication and communicate in a way that will have them inspired to take action. Everyone you meet and interact with has 3 questions at the back of their mind. Even your boss. The questions are, do you care for me? Can you help me? And can I trust you? Again, do you care for me? Can you help me? And can I trust you? When you implement the strategies, I believe they will help you say yes to those 3 questions. And that opens the lines of communication with your audience. So I want to say thank you for listening, and I hope these have helped you, and I hope you'll be able to implement some of the strategies. And again, they're simple, but if you begin to implement a few of them, I believe it will help you as you communicate with other people. And please, let's connect, and I'm curious to hear about how you're going to implement them, and if you need any help with implementation in any area where you're finding it difficult, I'm available to help you. So I would like to hand it back over to Deepak. Thank you so much, and I guess there will be time for questions, or if you have any comments.
So, Kemi, thank you very much. Your webinar was very insightful. At least I learned a lot. We have a few questions from our audience. The first question is about, you talk about this, 6 steps, and the first
Yes.
step about the relationship, right? So, our audience has a question about, on the relationship slide,
Yes.
where did you get the statistic that 13% knowledge and 87% knowledge?
I actually got it from, so this presentation is from one of our programs in the John Maxwell team. Like I mentioned, I'm a John Maxwell certified trainer, and one of our programs, everyone communicates to connect, and so that's where the statistics came from. So it is from the program itself, from the book. So I'm not sure what the source is exactly.
So if you remember in the beginning, you asked question to audience, why do you want to join, or what interests you to join this webinar, right?
Yes.
So I want to kind of pick few comments I came across, and I want to just let all audience know.
Okay.
The one comment was that the audience want to be more influential.
Influential. Okay.
Other comment was to improve working relationship with team members. One audience had a pretty good comment, say, I am one of those people who others don't listen to.
Okay.
Other comment was communicate effectively so that desired results and effects are achieved. I want to improve my communication skill because sometimes feel, as you described, that I am not really connecting with others. I learn better communication to gain buy-in with others to accomplish goal as team. Looking for tips to reduce time to get point across effectively.
Okay.
Getting volunteers to step up and take on more responsibility, following through on commits they have made. So those are the reason people have kind of mentioned to your question.
Okay, that's great. And my question back will be if the strategies will help, like some of the ideas will help with those goals, to help them to achieve those goals.
So audience, if you want to answer this question, you can answer typing the answer in a question box. We will get that answer and we will compile the result. Meanwhile, I have a couple of few questions, not about the about this webinar, but the question was around what was the question? 1 second. Where I can get this recording, and is it possible to get the slides or deck of the slides for
Yes.
this presentation?
Yes,
So,
I will send you the slides.
They will be posted on the division website, which is HDANDL.org, ASQHDNO.org.
so one of the audience has a question for Kemi.
Yes.
So in quote unquote, they say action says louder than voice. What could be more important action that be more valuable than speaking communication?
Could you repeat that? Did you say
Sure.
accent? Accent?
No, action. Action like a plan, action. So what audience is asking that, there is a saying that, action always speak more than, louder than your voice.
Okay, yes.
The question is about what could be more important action that be more valuable than speaking communication.
So again, it has to do with, so you have to think in terms of the goal you're trying to achieve or what you're trying to communicate, and making sure that your actions align with what you're trying to communicate. And that is what I believe is what is important. And again, everything works together. Like those six strategies, just like with a gear system, everything works together. So actions does speak louder than words. That is very true. And once your actions are in line with what you want to say, by the time you say what you want to say, people will begin to get buy-in, they'll be inspired, and they will truly listen to what you have to say.
I'll give you a good example of what you're saying. I work in the safety field, and you won't find a company that doesn't say safety is very important.
Yes.
They all say that. But you can find lots of companies where management demonstrates that it's not very important.
Yes, that is very correct. Yep.
And those companies tend to have some, an excellent example being BP. They tend to have, depending on the risks that are involved, they can have very serious accidents, and lots of them. And I assure you the chairman of BP always said safety was very important.
Yeah, and they have to model it first. If they're not modeling it, then people won't take it seriously.
As a contrast, after the Valdez, Exxon became very, very conscious about safety, to the effect that senior executives would go to safety meetings with the hourly workers.
Mm.
So Marilyn, do you have any feedback? Do you have any comments?
Hi. I think it was a very thorough presentation, and I really like the idea of simplification. That to me is, I think, is one of the best messages in this. And I always have said that a good teacher is one who can make complicated simple. One of the things that we have to remember is
Yes.
that people only retain about 25% of what you tell them. And so the message has to be very clear if you really want them to maintain it.
Yes.
I thought it was terrific too. Really, really good. It would be good to have those notes in front of you anytime you hold a meeting.
Yeah, definitely.
So we don't have any other question from audience. That means we are concluding our webinar today. See you next month, again on Wednesday. There's a third Wednesday of the last week of the next month. And we're going to have an exciting webinar for next time. So just be tuned and see you next time. Thank you very much.
One thing.
Okay.
Deepak will be sending out an email that will give you your recertification credits, and it'll also contain a link to a survey. We hope you'll take advantage of the survey. We need the feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brooks. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kemi.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.